Welcome to the Rotary Club of York. We are change makers devoted to service above self and honoring the four-way test. If you haven't already done so, please silence your cell phones. President-elect nominee Aaron Jacobs will lead us in our opening song, the Star-Spangled Banner, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Past President Gordon Fryrick will offer the invocation, and Ron Unger will introduce our visitors.
Thank you, President Jackie. Rotarians, please join me. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good afternoon. In the spirit of the Rotary Club of York's IDEA initiative, inclusiveness, equality, access, diversity, I talk about Yom Kippur, the holiest day on the Jewish calendar, which begins at sundown today. Yom Kippur is a time for retrospection and introspection, as well as a time to look forward. With that in mind, I ask you to join me in this meditation. You bestow love and kindness on all your children. Faithful love gives life to all, and acts of grace restore our strength. To the sick, we must bring healing, and to those who are bound, release. We give thanks for the power to live and to act, and for the blessing of love. And let us say, Amen.
Afternoon, everyone. I'm pleased to have the honor in introducing guests for today's meeting. When I call your name, please stand and remain seating until President Jackie has welcomed you. Norman Humber, guest of John Kleindienst. Adam Marsh, guest of Aaron Jacobs. Alyssa Barshinger, guest of Jake Miller. Jacob Miller III, guest of Jake Miller. Andrew Koplitz, guest of Ron Bunce. Kenneth Hansen, guest of John Vermeulen. Kenneth. And not quite a guest, but returning member Becca Hanlon. Oh, all right. Oh, please give our guests a round of applause.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you all for being here. Becca, it's so great to have you back. Welcome back. And it's so great to see new faces who are becoming members, which we're very excited to see. And we're putting the full court press on Adam over there. Hopefully we'll get him involved. And we know that you're about to join too. So thank you, guests, for being here. We hope you enjoy the program and that you will come back and visit us often. Members, once again, help us welcome our visitors. Last week, the Board of Directors approved a resolution of respect to be presented to the family of Rotarian Art Cayley, and it reads, Whereas Arlington Paul Cayley Art was born in September of 1922 in York, Pennsylvania, the son of late Edward and Mary Cayley. And whereas Arlington Paul Cayley graduated William Penn Senior High School and earned a BS in education from Westchester State College and a master's degree in music education from the Pennsylvania State University. And whereas Arlington Paul Cayley served 3 years in the U.S. Army during World War II as a tech sergeant in an anti-aircraft battalion that moved throughout the Pacific Theater of Operations. He was stationed in Fiji when Japan surrendered unconditionally in 1945. And whereas Arlington Paul Cayley was active in many organizations in the community, including Calvary United Methodist Church, the York City Band, and the York Youth Symphony. He was the founder and director of the Pennsylvania Ambassadors of Music. At his 90th birthday celebration in 2012, he was recognized by the mayor of York for his lifelong commitment and dedication to music education. And whereas Arlington Paul Cayley was a member of the Rotary Club of York since 2002, enjoying service and fellowship with his fellow Rotarians. And whereas Arlington Paul Cayley was the husband of Mildred Ann Cayley for nearly 73 years and father to Richard Cayley and David Cayley and grandfather. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Directors, officers, and members of the Rotary Club of York on this 15th day of September 2021 express their deepest sympathies to the family of Arlington Paul Cayley. Be it further resolved that this resolution of respect be forwarded to the family of Art on this day. We are very pleased that so many of you have supported Art Scholarship Fund. We've already raised over $5,000 in his memory and honor. So thank you for all who have participated. We want to thank everyone who turned out in support of our Love for Community fundraiser this past Monday. It was a great time for all who were able to participate. We'll provide details soon on the success of the day. And I just want to throw this in. Doc Davis came to me before the meeting and goes, you have to say this. You have to say that it was an absolutely fabulous day. We saw an energy in the air. People had an absolutely wonderful time. He was with the golfers. He said, I don't know if it's a post-COVID relief thing or what, but he said, we just really had the most magnificent day. Thank you to everyone who made that possible, to Dee Baker and Darren Smith for your efforts in co-chairing this event. And a very, very special thank you to Ken Cooper, who uploaded all the auction photos for mobile bidding and provided a lot of the descriptions for the packages. He also captured the day in photos and then created a wonderful slide presentation during dinner. And we shared them again today, as you can see during lunch. Hopefully you're enjoying those. Thank you, Ken, for your hard work in putting this together. It's a great summary of our day. And thank you too to Chris Toff for your role as our dynamic auctioneer, and to Lynn and Renee, who worked tirelessly from start to finish to make it a fantastic event. The Communications Committee, yes, of course. The Communications Committee has finalized our club's 2020-2021 annual report, which showcases the work of our club during the last year under the leadership of past president Ann Druck. It provides a financial overview of how funds raised were used to support our mission and programs. I encourage you to review the annual report created with the help of H. Warner Marketing Company. The report does an excellent job of capturing our year in review, including our mission, vision, vibrant photos, and summarizes the information that was happening through our committees. The annual report can be found in 3 places: on our club's website, in the announcer for the next 2 weeks, and also on Facebook. And if you have someone in mind who's looking to learn more about our club, please share a copy with them, as it's a great recruiting tool to help others visualize what it is that we do. Special thanks to Courtney Bailey, Heather Warner, and Ken Cooper for their contributions to this report. The board has accepted the resignation of past District Governor Patty Rooney, who has begun his next Rotary chapter with the Rotary Club of Raleigh, North Carolina, where he's also involved in their district and Rotary international efforts. The Communication Committee will meet at 1:20 today following our meeting in the Elmer Smith Room. The Educational Vocational Guidance Committee will meet at 1:20 today in the Mixed Grill. And the IDEA Committee will meet on Monday, September 20th at 8 a.m. via Zoom. And now for our member moment. Chris Toff believes in giving back to the community and is driven to make an impact whenever possible. As general manager of WPMT Fox 43, he encourages his team to do the same and actually offers them paid vacation time to donate blood and participate in service projects. He brings the same spirit to Rotary as he likes to be involved and affect positive change. He first joined Rotary in Toledo, Ohio in 2010 and continued his involvement in our club when he made the move to York in 2014. He's active on the IDEA Committee and co-chairs the Communications Committee with Courtney Bailey, which has done an excellent job in improving our communications through our website, social media, and in keeping our members connected. He's generous with his donations to the fall fundraiser and has been the highlight of the live auction, serving as our auctioneer, where he expertly extracts dollars from willing participants. Chris loves the industry he chose and feels like he's been on vacation for the past 25 years, as no 2 days are ever alike. A lot of what happens at the station revolves around taking care of the needs of people, and every person on his staff is in the job because they genuinely love what they do, which is rewarding for him. He loves watching things come to life and a big story someone's working on or creating new programs. The station has a new syndicated program, Nittany Game Week, hosted by Fox's sports director, which showcases Penn State's game day highlights. Chris was born and raised in Queens, New York, and attended Fordham University in the Bronx, where he studied advertising and marketing management. He lived in Queens and Brooklyn and worked in Manhattan until he was about 36, and he remains a devoted Mets and Jets fan, bless him. His background in advertising led him to working with TV and cable companies. He also had a position with the Boston Red Sox and the Boston Bruins, where he was head of sales. But after being on the road for 40 weeks out of the year, traveling to luxurious places like Flint, Michigan and Amarillo, Texas, he realized that quality of life was more important. And so he made the move into television station management, first in Toledo for 3 years and now in York. Chris has 3 boys, a junior at Penn State, a freshman at Auburn, and a 6th grader. He enjoys golf, cooking, hiking, and touring breweries within a 1,000-mile radius of where he lives. He often finds himself in humorous situations that make for good stories. So ask him sometime about his statement, "I can't believe I'm the naked guy in the spa." So anyway, he is funny, quick-witted, salty-tongued, and very, very kind-hearted with fierce determination to make positive and lasting change in this community he calls home. Thank you, Chris. We are about to do our perfect attendance recognition. Josh George. And in lieu of Phil Woods, Josh George is going to come to the podium now to present our recognition. So he's recognizing, I think, first 5, 10, 15, and so on. And you will see the slides on the screen that represent everyone who has had a perfect attendance and their years of having perfect attendance. So watch that while you're listening to Josh.
Thanks, President Jackie. Good afternoon, everybody. I did not know I was doing this until about 45 seconds ago. So if I screw it up, I apologize, but I have done it in the past, so hopefully I can get through it. So as President Jackie said, we want to recognize all of those members who have had perfect attendance over the last year. And I am going to spotlight those members who are receiving their first year of perfect attendance, and then 5, 10, 15, 25, and then our current leader in perfect attendance at the end. So without further ado, our members who have achieved perfect attendance for the first year: Kevin Apnell, Doug Berman, JT Hand, President-elect Glenn Miller, Chad Myers, Gene Ream, JL Smith, and Jules Tolbert. And certificates are right upon request. Very good. Thank you. So if you want one, don't ask me. 5 years, Bob Bacon and Fran Polk. 10 years, past President Ann Druck. 15 years, Bill Anstein, Sarah Austin, past President Dave Hoffman, Bob McSweeney, past District Governor and former York Rotarian Patty Rooney, and past President Al Sykes. 20 years, Tom Barton. 25 years, Al Hayes and Chuck Long. And our champion of long attendance, again, Leon Butler, 31 years of perfect attendance. Now, we'd like to have some members who are younger than 31. So if we can work on that as well, that'd be awesome. But Leon, awesome as always, 31 perfect years. That's amazing. And Lynn, thanks for throwing me up here at the last second. President Jackie, back to you.
Thank you, past President Josh. Thank you for doing that on the fly. We really appreciate it. And now it's my pleasure to have Jeff Vermeulen come up and introduce our program.
Thank you. I'm happy to be playing double duty here with you all, representing both York College and the York County Economic Alliance. As their chair-elect, Kevin Schreiber couldn't be with you. I have far less hair than he does, but I'm probably a little better looking, but don't tell him. So the York County Economic Alliance has a long history of work and partnership with the Spring Grove paper mill throughout its history as Gladfelter, and since 2018, when it changed ownership to Pixelle. Kanantha Hansen, who is my guest here today, is joining us from the York Economic Alliance team in welcoming Jay and Pixelle to our club. Today, we are honored to have with our club Mr. Jay Thiessen. Jay is the Vice President and General Manager of the Pixelle facility in Spring Grove. The Spring Grove paper mill had long been known as Gladfelter in our community and was the principal asset for PH Gladfelter Company when it was founded in 1864. The facility remained affiliated with the PH Gladfelter Company for 154 years until it was sold in 2018 and became Pixelle Specialty Solutions, LLC. Jay is a chemical engineer and a 37-year pulp and paper industry veteran. He and his wife, Deb, have 2 grown children and now reside in York. Jay has had the unique opportunity to work in many pulp and paper product segments and with exceptional industry professionals during his career. Optimizing pulp and paper businesses has become his professional passion, and Jay derives great satisfaction from building sustainability into paper mills and paper mill communities. The Spring Grove mill has been inoperable for over 157 years and has been retooled many times over its storied history to ensure economic sustainability. A proud paper-making tradition exists at this facility and in our community, as some employees are 4th or 5th generation paper makers. Today, Jay is going to share some of the mill's rich history, as well as its current and future business plans. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Rotarians, help me in welcoming Jay Thiessen, Vice President and General Manager of Pixelle Specialty Solutions, Spring Grove Paper Mill.
Good afternoon. I've got my phone here so I don't run long. So it's silenced, by the way. So, hey, I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Appreciate the introduction. I appreciate lunch. That was really good. It's way better than I normally get. So I really do appreciate that. As Jeff said, I am Jay Thiessen. I am an industry veteran in pulp and paper. It is a manufacturing segment in our economy that is dwindling. Most pulp and paper products are in decline. There are a few segments that are growing, and I'm proud to be a leader in one of those segments. The segment that we participate in is specialty paper products, the hard to do stuff that most people don't want to try to do. And that is really our business niche and what our company is all about. So I'm going to walk you through a couple of things here. I'm going to start with, really a little bit of a personal introduction. I've had a great opportunity to work with some really, really talented, professional, top-notch folks in my career. And one of the things that has kept me in the pulp and paper industry is just that, the people. I come from humble beginnings. Neither of my grandfathers had a college degree. My father was the first in his family to have a college degree. And so I grew up with a lot of blue collar type folks. I really respect hard work. And I've, continue to do so and cherish those around me that exhibit those things. So I am passionate about the pulp and paper industry, and it may be weird for someone to say that, but I love it. It's a great way, a great reason to get up every morning for me, right? And can't get enough. So let me see if I can advance the slide here, maybe. Maybe you can help me because doesn't seem to be working. Try it now. How about that? You got to turn it on. Okay. So I'm going to start with a little bit of a quick history lesson on the Spring Grove facility. Most of you know that it's been there, maybe don't know what goes on behind the gates. I'm going to share a little bit about that with you. It's very unusual for, I think, any business in our country to, achieve an age of 150 years plus. This facility has been manufacturing paper for 157 years, and that is really remarkable. I've been in the industry for 37 years, and there's a handful of the paper mills that I've worked in my career that no longer run. Some of those companies no longer exist. This mill still exists, still thrives, and it's my job to make sure that it thrives for generations to come. So many of you may not know this, but the original site that formerly known as Gladfelter Mill resides on was actually an iron forge. And look at the date there, 1755 was when the iron forge began in Spring Grove, in what is now known as Spring Grove. And that's okay. Interestingly, some of the places that metal ended up was in our, in our nation's rich history, the Revolutionary War. There were iron and cannonballs were supplied to George Washington's army, which is pretty unique. It continued as a forge until the mid 1800s, and a gentleman by the name of Jacob Hauer bought the facility and decided he was going to make paper. And at that time, the primary raw material in making paper was cotton. And so basically he repurposed, recycled old rags, old clothing, et cetera, and manufactured paper. Interestingly, when they started, they made less than 1 ton a day of paper, which right now we make, almost 1,000 tons a day every day. So it continued under Mr. Hauer's leadership for a while. He did have some financial difficulties, and Philip Henry Gladfelter purchased the facility in 1863 and turned it into a thriving paper business. 1 ton a day back then, we produce 900 to 1,000 tons a day now of all sorts of unique products. Some other interesting facts: some of the paper for that facility was actually turned into handbills when President Lincoln was in Hanover and at Gettysburg. So it's pretty cool to, for me anyway, to think about, my predecessors producing paper that was used for some of those historical purposes. The mill has gone through lots of iterations, had at one time 8 paper machines. Now we're operating 4 of them. We make specialty papers. We make most of our own pulp, which is the raw material for paper making. And that pulp comes from wood. So long known as Gladfelter, a rich history, a privately held company. The Gladfelters made the decision that they didn't want to maintain that part of the business anymore in their business. And so went up for sale. This mill went up for sale, as well as 2 facilities in Ohio that Gladfelter owned. And a private equity firm by the name of Lindsay Goldberg, headquartered in New York City, purchased these 2 facilities and coating facility in Ohio. And that became what is now known as Pixelle Specialty Solutions. Since that time, Pixelle has purchased 2 additional mills, and that's really how I got into Pixelle. I was actually running the mill in Jay, Maine that Pixelle purchased in the spring of 2020. And my boss asked me to come here and manage this facility and this business for Pixelle. So that's how I landed here. In its current state now, we're a pretty big deal. We make, 325,000 tons of paper products a year. And that's not the biggest paper mill in the country by any stretch. The products we make are very unique. They're made typically in smaller quantities. We have not just 4 or 5 large customers, we've got hundreds of customers. And that kind of a business approach has served Gladfelter well in the past in Spring Grove, continues to serve Pixelle well. The mill itself is really pretty self-contained and self-sufficient in a lot of ways. We deliver or unload 170 trucks of wood a day. Some of that comes in logs in 20-foot lengths. Some comes in as chips. So sawmills in the area, the portions of the tree that aren't square get chipped up, and we use those wood chips to manufacture pulp. About half of what we receive is softwood or pine. The other half is hardwood, oaks, mixed hardwoods in the region. We pull from probably a radius of 100 miles around the mill to fiber the mill. We have a satellite facility in Del Mar, Maryland, that enhances that radius that we can pull from. The mill has the ability to produce about 90% of pulp that's required to make paper. Well, what's pulp? Well, just think about it. Pulp is pretty much white mashed potatoes that are basically cellulose materials derived from trees. And so to make this pulp, what we do is we'll take a wood chip, which is about the size of a postage stamp and about 1/4 inch thick, and we will pressure cook, for lack of a better way to say it, pressure cook those chips. We'll apply alkali, we'll apply sodium sulfide in a proprietary manner, and we will pressure cook these chips at about 330 degrees, and we'll cook them for about 2 hours. When they come out, they're like black mashed potatoes. And we'll take those black mashed potatoes, we'll wash that, we'll end up bleaching that, and then it ends up looking like just literally mashed potatoes on your plate. And that is the raw material for paper. Comes in 2 forms, comes in the hardwood form. Hardwood is really, really good for making paper smooth and opaque. And then the other form of pulp that we use is softwood pulp. And that is really good for strength. And so those softwood fibers almost weave together as we form them on a paper machine, provide strength and structure to the sheet. And then basically we fill in the blanks with the hardwood and to prepare a sheet of paper. We're very self-sufficient. We make all of our own steam. So making pulp and paper is a very energy intensive business. To make this pulp, we have to heat up the wood chips to 330 degrees. We use high pressure steam to do that. We take some of that high pressure steam and we'll run it through machines called turbines, spinning a spinning wheel basically inside an electrical generator will produce our own electricity. We can actually produce more electricity than we need in the paper mill. And there are some times that we actually sell that to the electric utility nearby. And again, that is sometimes it's a moneymaker for us, at other times it's not. So we will really tailor our energy operation to suit the market, basically. So from that, then we've got this raw material pulp. We have this raw material of steam. We're going to put this pulp onto a fast moving nylon fabric. We call it a wire because back in the day, they used to be made out of brass wires, very tightly woven. But now they're made out of nylon. And so these wires will move in our mill up to 40 miles an hour. And we're going to apply a very, very dilute stream of that pulp that we just made in our pulp mill, and we'll form a sheet of paper. As that sheet moves down the paper machine, we're removing water. So when we put the pulp onto the wire, it's about 1% pulp, 99% water. And the paper machine really is designed to form a sheet and remove water. And it's built on economics. The cheapest way to remove water is on a former, on this wire. And so we'll convey the pulp on this wire until the sheet is about 20% fiber, 80% water. Then we'll press it. And we have got these fast moving rubber covered and polyurethane covered rolls that mate together and between some materials that we call felts. And we basically are using those felts as blotters. And so when we combine the felt with the sheet of paper between the two felts, press it, we're going to move the water from the sheet of paper into the felt, which we'll remove. So pressing is the next section. And that when our paper leaves the press section of our paper machines is about 45% fiber, about 55% water. The rest of the drying done on our paper is done through large cylinders. They're 5 feet in diameter, turning all the time, and they're also filled with steam. And so for the rest of our paper machine, we're evaporating the water out of the sheet of paper. So that's how you make a sheet of paper. Quick and simple terms. There's lots that goes into it, and I can talk for hours on it, but I'll move on. So anyway, we have 4 paper machines that do this. Our number 1 machine was built in 1922, and it makes specialty papers. So some of the papers it makes are for Hallmark greeting cards, American greetings. We also make, if you ever go to Lowe's and you want to pick out a paint color, you've got these swatches of paint. Well, we make that paper on the number 1 machine. Okay. Our number 2 machine makes book paper for trade journals and some novels, those kinds of things. We also make colored papers. So I can't use the trade name, but we call them repositionable notes. Okay, you call them something different, right? And I do too. Okay, but I can't today. Right. So, but we make, the whole rainbow of colors, right, for those repositionable notes. All right. Our number 7 machine was built in 1957. And it's been rebuilt several times. It's our fastest paper machine. It runs up to 2,600 feet a minute. And it typically will manufacture envelope paper. And it also manufactures a lot of specialty envelopes. So if you get something in the mail, that says, okay, fold on the perforation, rip off, and I get confused with them all the time and get frustrated and just end up tearing the thing apart. But those are the paper is specially designed such that if somebody tampers with it, you know it, right? It's obvious that somebody has messed with your stuff. And so there's some special things that we do to manufacture that paper so that it tears in the right way. Our number 8 machine makes book paper, publishing papers, but also specialty papers. And one of the things that it makes the most of is what we call coder base. So we have 2 machines then that follow these paper machines and treat some of our paper with some special proprietary blends of coatings we can apply to one side of the paper, 2 sides of the paper. We can apply several different layers of coating. We can apply up to 4 layers of coating on a sheet if we want to. And those are used for all sorts of unique applications. So for instance, one application is if you drive a car, your dashboard was probably molded on our paper. That's actually a casting base that manufacturers use to start layering on plastics and other polys and those kinds of things. So just a side note there. Okay, so that's a little bit about the mill itself, right? So we've got 4 paper machines, 2 coaters, 2 pulp mills, a city that, a utility that can drive a city, makes enough power to power York, if we should choose to use it that way. So Pixelle is a new company, right? I mentioned that it started in 2018. It's basically a rebirth or a birth of an assortment of assets that are designed to make really unique papers that are very profitable, the specialty papers. And that's one of the reasons that this mill in Spring Grove has been around, is that over time, the hardworking and industrious folks there and creative folks have found those niches that not every paper mill can make, the products that not everybody wants to make because they're so bloody hard to make, right? And so there's a lot of passion that goes into that. When you get it right, it's a major win, but it takes a lot of times going back to the drawing board sometimes to make some of these new products. But the folks there are adept at that. We've got 3 other mills that are in mostly different specialty markets. And so we put these 4 together. We've got just a really, really powerful company that we call Pixelle Specialty Solutions. So really, and some of you may know Tim Hess. Tim Hess is our CEO. His office is still in Spring Grove. And through the pandemic, he was there every day too. Okay, just like the rest of us. So I really do appreciate that. But Tim is a great guy. He's been a great leader for Gladfelter in the past and now into the future for Pixelle. And so we're proud to have him as our, and he's a local guy. But this is really what the vision and the mission of our company is we want to be the leader. And it says a leader, but trust me, we want to be the leader in specialty papers. And we want to be the absolute best at what we choose to do. We're going to provide our customers with excellent products and services. We're going to engage our employees with the right tools and provide them with the right tools to work well and safely. We are going to be a good corporate neighbor. We're going to be a good neighbor to our community members. We are going to be responsible. And we're going to focus on long-term sustainability. We want to be around. We don't want to be a flash in the pan. We want to be around. So the core values that each of us as folks in Pixelle hold is, first and foremost, it is absolutely imperative that we can provide a work environment that you can come to in the morning and go home in great shape at the end of the day. So it's a core value for us to work safely. It's a core value for us to focus on our customers and take care of them, acting with integrity, operating as entrepreneurs, which is a really cool thing. I really enjoy that. We are going to work together and we're going to respect one another. We're not going to yell and scream and cuss and all that stuff. We're going to be passionate about our business, but we're going to be professionals. And we got to make stuff happen. We have to be accountable for results. And so these core values emanate throughout the new Pixelle. So as a combined company, we're 1.2 billion in sales. We make 1.1 million tons of paper a year. We can make 600,000 tons of pulp. We've got 11 operating paper machines. 4 of them are in Spring Grove. We've got 2,100 folks that work in Pixelle. 600 of them work in the paper mill in Spring Grove that I'm responsible for. And that's where we operate. We have a mill in Maine, and that's where I came from. We have a mill in Ohio, near Columbus, Ohio. It's a little town called Chillicothe, Ohio, about 30,000 people. York, Pennsylvania, and then Stevens Point, Wisconsin. All of these facilities, we don't have a whole lot of product overlap. We got some, but it's really a diverse blend of specialty products that really makes us unique and hard to beat in the market. It's very powerful. Hard to see this slide, but that's just really a little snippet on our on our company. Stevens Point has 2 paper machines, really good assets, a lot of flexibility there. They make a lot of thermal papers and transfer tag papers. Really has been a profitable facility. They don't have a pulp mill, so they have to buy all of their own pulp. The Androscoggin mill is the main mill. That's where I came from. It's got 2 operating paper machines. It also has to purchase all of its pulp. The Chillicothe, Ohio mill is a really large mill. At one time, that mill employed 2,500 people. Now employs about 700 people. So over time, right, they've had to learn how to become more efficient and produce different products. We have a small coating facility in Ohio that's kind of tied to the Chillicothe mill. And then, of course, the Spring Grove mill that we talked about. Specialty papers. So it's hard to see. I apologize for the slides. It's hard to see, but this is where Pixelle's position is in specialty papers. And the numbers are thousands of tons produced a year. There's really only one entity that produces more specialty papers annually than we do. So we're very proud of that. And, you know, we really got the eye on, you know, how do we eclipse that guy, right? So it's a company called Ahlstrom Monks Joe. Yeah. Okay. Right. Exactly. And they're also held by private equity. Bain Investments holds that firm. But then there's a lot of other companies, and these companies have all changed names a lot since I started in this business. I mean, none of these names, quite frankly, existed when I started. Well, that's kind of hard to believe. Maybe tells you how old I am too. But anyway, a really solid market position there. Oops, sorry. The other products that we make are more commodity based. And so we've got some assets like the number 7 paper machine at Spring Grove that makes more commodity based papers. And those are like envelope papers. And it's our, you know, we see that as an opportunity. We've got paper making capacity if we can find alternative products to make that could command a higher price and higher margin. So we're hard after that. We've got a really great marketing group. We've got a great sales group, and we got a great product development group that's looking for ways to make that go to 0 and then eclipse this guy over here. Okay. In a nutshell, as a company, this is what we make. About 70% of what we make are what we call specialty papers. So that gap, you know, the rest of that 30%, that's opportunity for us to make more money. And so that's part of our strategy. These are some of the products we make, and it's even hard for me to see here, and I'm close. But basically the ones that are shaded in light blue are products that are made in the Spring Grove mill. We've got inkjet papers. So you may use some of these at home. These are more expensive copy papers that you could use in your at your home if you have an inkjet printer. Commercially, there's a lot of folks that have inkjet printers now. We sell a lot of paper through them. We make beer labels in Stevens Point, Wisconsin. There's a lot of beer in Wisconsin, and they've got a pretty good corner on that market. Label papers, thermal papers, so cash register paper and those kinds of things are made at Stevens Point. Food service is a huge thing. Our Androscoggin, Maine mill and our Stevens Point mill make a lot of food service papers. So grease resistant papers, hamburger wrappers and those kinds of things, clamshells for fast food, pizza boxes, hot pockets, those little sleeves that you use for hot pockets. Okay, we're responsible. We do make papers for conical cups. So if you go to a water cooler and you got one of those little cone cups, we make that. If you like Reese's peanut butter cups, we make the cups for the Reese's peanut butter cups. So I mean, we're all over the map there, and it's a fun thing. Yeah, and more and on and on and on, right? So we make paper for books. Carbonless papers, we don't make really much of that in Spring Grove, but our Chillicothe, Ohio mill is the largest carbonless paper mill in the world. And let's see, commercial papers, office papers, blah, 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 and then envelopes. So we make a bunch of paper, right? A lot of different flavors. And we look for new flavors every day that can enhance our profitability. Here are some of the folks that we do business with. You recognize some of these names: 3M, Scholastic, Novalex is a big one. There's Hallmark in there somewhere. There's American Greetings somewhere. There's Hallmark's logo. Okay, but you can kind of see, you know, this in the markets that we serve, we're number one in all of these different areas. We're number two in these areas, and we're number three in these areas. And so, you know, we're always looking to get out of this kind of stuff and move to the left. We want to be the leader in what we do. Okay, so I apologize. I'm passionate. I can go all day, and I know you don't want that. So if we have time, I'd be happy to entertain any questions you may have. Yes, sir. Yes. Actually, you know, we've gotten pretty. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. So the question was, how long with all the different products does it take to retool the line? And so what we've done is we've learned how to be pretty efficient in that rather than having to retool the line, we'll typically have to really just add steps to the process. And so we really add steps with those coaters. So, you know, we might have some products that we don't coat at all. We might have some products we coat once. We may have some products we coat 2 or 3 times. So that's really how we really change. Yes, sir. Gotcha. So question was, does Pixelle still own land? And tell me about the forestry practices. So Pixelle does not have any land. All of our wood comes, well, most of our wood comes from private landowners. And we have a group of wood procurement professionals that basically work with those landowners and then fiber procurement people, loggers, right? And they'll match those needs up. The landowner wants to get money for the trees and the logger wants something to do. So we'll kind of marry the two together. We'll get them connected. And then we'll take the wood, you know, after the landowner gets paid. We've got wood is a big deal in terms of chain of custody. Everybody wants to know where their products come from and that they've been manufactured responsibly. And we're certified with 3 different fiber certification services. So we really pretty much have our you know, our bases covered from that regard if people have sustainability questions. Yes, sir. Yeah, that's proprietary. Yeah. No, so yeah, so that is the pulping process. Oh, I'm sorry. Can you give us a little insight into the process that provides Spring Grove with the patented Spring Grove smell, right? Okay, so that odor are they're actually methyl mercaptans that are released during the pulping process. Methyl mercaptans are the same chemical that the natural gas transportation companies put in the gas so that you can smell it if there's a leak. Okay, so it doesn't take much to make a lot of odor. So we have over time spent millions of dollars in this facility capturing those gases during the pulping process, during the pulp washing process, during the pulp bleaching process. And we incinerate those gases in one of our boilers. Basically, you can remove the smell if you burn those gases above a particular temperature. And so that's how we dispose of them. But again, a little goes a long way. And so if any of those gases escape, that's what you smell, that cabbage smell. Yes, sir. Sure. Yeah, so the question was, Gladfelter was a long-standing name in the community. That changed a couple of years ago and surprised some people that the Gladfelter mill was not the Gladfelter mill anymore. It was purchased by a private equity firm. So Lindsay Goldberg, I will have to say, is they're very, very smart folks, and they really, really want to do business the right way. I mean, so from my, and this is my first exposure really to working for a company that's owned by private equity. They are very, very good folks. They're very reasonable folks. They're very intelligent folks. They're very responsible folks that are not trying to run our business into the ground. They allot very responsible levels of capital investment into the business every year. If you've got a good idea, you bring it forward. You've got to compete for capital, but that's the way it should be. And we do. But I would say that they're very responsible. And again, I don't think that, I haven't seen evidence that, they're starving the mill for maintenance funds. We spend $36 million a year, to maintain that facility. And we also spend, between 10 and $15 million a year in capital to reinvest in infrastructure and in, return projects. So, yes, sir. Yes.
Piggyback off that, Blackwater longstanding company community that supported a lot of nonprofits. Pixelle have plans to support nonprofits. Who would a guy like me talk to about a fundraiser?
Well, a guy like you would talk to me. Okay. So the question was, Gladfelter was a long time supporter of charities and other interests in the community, nonprofit interests in the community. We still do some of that. It may be to a lesser amount. Again, I don't have the historical perspective as a newcomer. But yeah, if you are interested in some kind of an arrangement, then I'm the guy to talk to. Okay. So I've got cards up here if you like afterwards. Yes, sir. In your J-main operation. Yes. Yep. Yep. Yeah. Sure. So I was the plant manager at that facility. Oh, the question was in the J-main facility, there was a fire or an incident that happened a couple of years ago. Is that facility back whole, and is it up to operational capacity from prior to that incident? So I was the plant manager on April 15th when that incident occurred, and one of these big pressure cookers that makes pulp And there's two different kinds. There's a batch pressure cooker we call a batch digester. There's also pressure cookers that are continuous in nature. And so we call those continuous digesters. And the Androscoggin mill had two of those continuous digesters in operation. We had a structural failure of one of the welds in that pressure vessel while it was operating. And that caused a catastrophic failure of that digester. And that digester, the way it fell, made the other one also out of commission, basically. So we went from being able to produce a lot of pulp and all of our own pulp every day there to being able to produce none of our own pulp. So the good news is that you don't need to have a pulp mill to make paper, but it's an advantage if you do have a pulp mill. And so the course of action that was decided that we would take there, and I was a part of that decision-making process, was we were going to look for alternative products that we could make at that facility that we could still make money on without a pulp mill. That was one option. Another option was we'd build back part of our pulp mill. And the other option was we'd build back the pulp mill in its entirety. And so we ran all of the financial pro forma on those different options with different product mixes in that facility. And the winner really was, didn't make sense to build the pulp mill back. So that mill has still got 2 operating paper machines. It had 3 before the incident. It's got 2 now. Those are completely focused on specialty products. And our R&D group here in Spring Grove and our R&D group in Wisconsin put their heads together at the same time and basically developed a whole new grade mix for that mill. And that has been under trial, under development, and integration over the last year or so. And they're doing well. They're doing well. So, as long as we don't have another COVID or whatever, things are looking okay for them.
We just have one more question from our virtual audience, if that's okay with you, Jackie. We have about 30 people joining us online today. This question comes from Thomas. He says, are you engaging in the application of Industry 4.0 initiatives to improve the overall equipment effectiveness? Do you see there are opportunities to improve efficiencies, to improve time to market and lower costs?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think everybody heard the question. That's good. So I don't got to repeat that. Thank you. But yeah, absolutely. So we have a very, very rich and vibrant continuous improvement process in our mill where we're constantly striving for world-class efficiency numbers. We know what they are. We know who the best in class is, and that's who we want to be. So that's a lean manufacturing, continuous improvement process we have all the time. In conjunction with that, we have a lean product development process that we operate with oversight of what we call a stage gate process. And so we bring a lot of ideas into a bucket. We filter those ideas. We check them for economic feasibility, market analysis. Can we make this stuff? How do we make this stuff? And so we have a very, very, it's a very fast-paced, but it's a very effective product development stream that goes into each of our facilities. Well, thank you for your time and attention. It's been my pleasure to be here.
Thank you, Jay, so much for keeping our beloved mill in Spring Grove and for providing jobs to so many workers, several of whom are generational workers. So thank you for keeping it alive, vibrant, and also for helping our economy. We really appreciate all that Pixelle's doing. In honor of Jay's program today, he has signed the book plate to the book Two Little Trains by Margaret Wise Brown, which we presented to Martin Library. Next week, we'll hear from Richard Craighead, the new executive director of the York chapter of the NAACP. President-elect Glenn Miller will be presiding over the meeting in my absence, as Mike and I will be traveling next week. And our closing quote today is by Muhammad Ali. He who is not courageous enough to take risks will accomplish nothing in life. Rotarians, I hope you have a great rest of your week. This meeting is adjourned.